How's it going, Chargers fans? Welcome into the Guilty as Charged podcast. And yes, the Chargers have signed J.C. Jackson. Now, full disclosure, I'm making this on Saturday, March 12th. Technically, I do not know for sure that this was the move. However, I put enough things together where I do feel confident enough to make this video. The Chargers have signed J.C. Jackson. Now, my understanding is that there was nothing done before the legal tampering period. The Chargers did everything by the book and they did everything they were supposed to. The difference is you start to hear enough things, you start to piece enough things together, you hear about them pursuing a big bag secondary player after the legal tampering period starts, and you see all the connections and you know who it is. It's JC Jackson. We've all known that. So you'll be hearing this when they officially announce it, which I assume is either Monday, maybe Tuesday, but probably within Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, which means that I've already explained how I got to this point on Sunday during our live stream. So if you want to know how I got here, you can go back to that as well. But if you followed me on Twitter, you followed the previous video that I did, you know it's basically been leading to this. And we all kind of expected this at this point. And once I got the news that they were not done, this was just bound to happen. So let's go through, why. Obviously the news. So I don't know what the contract details are yet. I couldn't tell you, how many years. I couldn't tell you what the numbers are. Either way, Arjun will break that down much better than I can. So let's just talk about quickly how we got here. The first time we really clued in on this was March 2nd at the Combine, where Brandon Staley was like, hey, during his presser, we're always going to be looking for corners. And there are a few number one corners in this league, ... So who are those number one corners, right? And he's obviously coached one before in Jalen Ramsey. He suggested that, Asante Samuel Jr. could play inside. Michael Davis was a starter in this league, but he didn't really consider him a number one corner. So we all thought, okay, he's either going to go sign someone or take someone at 17 overall. And we'll get into that, specifically that part, in just a bit on this timeline, because there is some new information there, which, again, you've probably seen once you saw the video either yesterday or a couple of days ago. But then, Jordan Schultz on March 8th first reported that I can remember seeing that the Chargers did have interest in J.C. Jackson. He listed, I think, the Chargers, the Niners, the Dolphins, and maybe a couple other teams. But the Chargers were obviously one of them. And it was certainly a surprise, of course, but, whatever. So after that point and before March 10th, when the Khalil Mack trade happened, I had reached out and said, hey, to somebody and said, would J.C. Jackson be on their board? That wouldn't make any sense because of his previous character history and all that. And he said, no, with certainty, J.C. Jackson is on their board. So that was really odd and certainly something very different. Well, when I do the whole, video with everybody else, I'll talk about that both on Sunday with the preview. And then eventually when we do react to this news, I'll talk about it. So March 10th came, and that was the big day, right? That was when the Chargers traded for Khalil Mack and got things going. But then you saw reports from Daniel Jeremiah, Mark Garafolo, Jeremy Fowler, and guys that were saying, okay, yeah, that was a great move for them. They're not done. And I received information maybe a few minutes after I think Mark Garafolo had posted, or all these guys had posted, that the Chargers, yes, they are not done. And specifically, because everyone kind of speculated it could be corner, it could be defensive tackle. I specifically got the word that it was someone on the back end, and I did get clarification on that. Again, I explained this a couple of days ago or yesterday, but I will explain it again in a second. So I got back end, big name, and that they're not done yet. So that was huge. That was March 10th. The thing that changed, which I figured out later, which, what happened on March 10th, was Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos. Now, it seemed, based on the information that I gathered, that the Chargers were fully on board with getting a corner, like a number one corner, whether it be free agency or the draft, right? You can go 17, you can take Trent McDuffie. In free agency, you can get J.C. Jackson, you can get Charvarius Ward, maybe it's Darius Williams, whatever. But Russell Wilson being traded to the Broncos basically meant, okay, we really just need to go get this corner right now. And also because Khalil Mack got traded to the Chargers and you've kind of fixed up your front seven a bit, now it's time to focus on that back end. So the two trades that happened on the 10th, the Wilson trade and the Mack trade, made them focus more on the secondary. And they just basically said, look, we got to go get a corner. We got to go get a legitimate corner. Again, like I said, there was no, that I'm aware of, early illegal tampering. There was no, early discussions with a specific player or other specific players about deals and all that. I'm not aware of anything like that, and I don't believe so. I don't believe that happened. And again, I was told that it's not going to happen like that. That they were going to wait until the legal tampering period began. So again, I'm just trying to reiterate that I'm not trying to say that they did something over the weekend and then it was announced. Maybe they did, but I don't want to suggest that I know that because I don't. Again, I'm making this video with the assumption that they've signed JC Jackson, but I kind of basically know that they're going to go after JC Jackson. Then March 11th was a big one where you get Jordan Schultz again on Twitter saying the Chargers are in love with JC Jackson. You know, they want to throw money at him or he's going to make big money. Peter King goes on Pro Football Talks YouTube show or whatever it is, his live show, and says, hey, you know, I sat down with Brandon Staley. They're not done. They're going to, you know, probably go after Bradbury if he's cut or JC Jackson. So those are the two guys. And then, of course, as I mentioned in that previous video that I did about the Chargers going after someone in the secondary, you know, I mentioned that there were conversations elsewhere with the information I shared that the Chargers, excuse me, not the Chargers, that JC Jackson was going to be the target. Again, nothing was known at that point, but everyone at this point was pointing towards JC Jackson. So we got to the point where it's, you know, someone says he's not off their board. Everyone's saying they're going after a corner or defensive tackle, but they're going to be aggressive in the safety. People are specifically saying it's JC Jackson. I'm hearing it's a secondary. I'm hearing it's a big name. I'm hearing it's a bag, right? All this stuff just points to the fact that it was going to be JC Jackson. Again, I'm recording this video. Hopefully I'm not wrong in the middle of recording this video, but we'll see. What happened on March 12th, and I just have that here, is some of the stuff you've already heard. I got clarification that it was after the legal tampering period started. I got clarification that it was someone in the secondary. So I got back end before. I joked that Fletcher Cox has a big back end. Hopefully that's not what they meant, but no, it was secondary. So yeah, secondary, big name, bag, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of, and then the Wilson trade accelerating things and the Mack trade changing things for them. So that's kind of what I figured out from there. So that's how we got here. And then, you know, I'll talk to Steve and everybody about this specific trade, what it means and all that. The one thing I do want to just bring up really quick is that the point of bringing in JC Jackson, I think more than anything, is the fact that he gets his hands on the football. So I have here, you know, on the left on this chart, JC Jackson, 8 interceptions. And then last year, Derwin James, Nasir Adderley, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., they had a total of 5. You know, he's got 12 passes broken up. They had 22. He has 13 forced incompletions. They have 28. So yes, of course, 4 guys have more passes broken up and forced incompletions, but it's like not that much more, right? You know, it's twice as much, sure, but it's 4 times the players. And that's not like Derwin James, Nasir Adderley, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr. It's not like they didn't see the field. So, you know, they want players that they can create turnovers, where they can create turnovers. You know, the Chargers, it's hard to see in this graphic, but they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, like 18th in takeaways, or in takeaways last season. And even though Justin Herbert rarely turned the football over, rarely it was his fault. You know, the offense rarely turned the football over, yet I think they were -1 in turnover differential because the defense just didn't take the football away. Like, if you think of how careful Justin Herbert and the offense in general was with the football, but they're still -1 in the turnover department differential, it's because the defense just didn't take the football away. The Chargers needed that. They needed to get Justin Herbert more touches. And it's part of the reason they brought over Khalil Mack. I mentioned this on Twitter. Joey Bosa just set a career high in strip sacks and forced fumbles on the season while working with Brandon Staley in his first year. Khalil Mack, in his first season with Brandon Staley, set a career high in forced fumbles as well. So you have Bosa and Mack on either side setting career highs in forced fumbles under Brandon Staley. Now you bring in a corner who's had 22 interceptions the last 3 seasons and more interceptions this past year than Derwin James, Nasir Adderley, Michael Davis, and Asante Samuel Jr. combined. That's what they want. And here's specifically the numbers. I mean, the Chargers were, they were second in yards per drive, and they were second in points per drive. They ended up, amazingly, they ended up 5th in total, or in points per game with 27.9. So actually above the Rams, between the Rams and the Chiefs, pretty good spot to be in, right? But they want to be better, right? Even though they were, 5th in points per game and second in yards per drive and second in points per drive, they only had 169 drives. Now, some people, I believe, of everybody in the NFL last season, I think they were 6th in total drives. They had the 6th fewest drives. So Kansas City had fewer, Green Bay had fewer drives, the Rams had as many drives, but there are teams like the Buccaneers, who again are above the Chargers here, about exactly 2 points per game more, right? Tampa Bay had 186 drives, right? Dallas above them as well, 188 drives. You need to find a way to get Justin Herbert, let's say half of a drive per game more, right? So you get 8.5. No, how many games are there? There's 17 games, 8.5 more drives over the season, let's say, and just add a little bit more. So in games where it's very close, right, where you need to pick off Patrick Mahomes, where you need an interception to get somewhere into the postseason, or let's say the Bengals. Look how they basically waltzed into the Super Bowl, not really because of Joe Burrow, that line or that offense, but because the defense was taking the ball away. The Chargers need that, and that's specifically why I think they went after J.C. Jackson. Now, I will say, at this point, I don't know much about the character things. It is very far in JC Jackson's past. I'm not going to talk about that here. That'll be for our full discussion later on. But I just wanted to record this now. So yes, JC Jackson to the Chargers. Again, I do not know at this time on March 12th that it is specifically going to happen, but I am very, very confident that it is going to happen based on all of the information I've gathered over the past 10 days or so. So hopefully I'm not wrong. Hopefully I didn't just waste my time. Guys, let me know what you think. We're going to have a full discussion later on, but I just wanted to get this out there now so you can kind of track how we got here and why the one specific reason I think they went after him. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm excited. Let's hear what you think. Take care. And as always, bolt up.